Welcome to Naperville Notables. I'm Liz Spencer. We're in studio today at NCTV 17, and we're joined by Dave Simnick. Dave was an intern with us way back in the day, and now he's the CEO and founder of Soapbox Soaps. Stay tuned for his story. I remember very vividly when I first met you. Well, you were about 12, 13. I'm not quite sure where the birthday falls. So December, you were 13 when I met you.
Yes.
And you were just a very confident young man and gregarious.
Yep.
And
a lot has changed since then.
You've grown a little taller. You're still about as gregarious, and I think the confidence level is still there, and which is good. But one of the things that struck me when I met you early on, when I asked you, because you worked and you were interning and being a part of Naperville Community Television, NCTV, way back when we were at Fifth Avenue. That was very close to Washington Junior High, and you'd zip over after school. And I thought that you really wanted to be involved with television, but when I asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, you said President of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's adorable. I think that's so cute. I can't stand it.
I think when I was in middle school and when I was in high school, I sought political ambition because I thought that was the most effective way to make change. And it definitely is an amazing platform in order to do a lot of good. And having grown up and experienced a lot of how the Beltway works and having gone to school there, my ambitions started to change a little bit. And I wanted to focus in on how change could happen at either a more rapid pace or focused on issues that I was really passionate about.
I do think that you at that time wanting to be president of the United States, one of the things that you followed up with that is that you did want to help people, and you thought at that time that being the president of the United States would be the best possible way to help somebody.
Totally.
Totally.
I think, but I think also there's not trying to I think being very in touch with my my lesser angels as well as the things that I hope make me a good person is I also really loved the power aspect of it. I was a middle schooler that wanted to be 45 the next day. I wanted to grow up. I liked wearing dress shirts and suits, and my parents thought it was crazy. I was totally. Who's the actor in the 180 show where he rebels against his liberal parents by dressing up as
Family Ties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Family Ties. I was Michael J. Fox, and it was always I've always believed at a very young age for some reason that we have a very finite amount of time here on Earth, and that you need to make the most of that. And the only thing that I could consistently go back and justify wanting to do big things as if helping people was at the center of that. I get up and basically sprint to work every morning because of the mission that we have and because of the results that we're able to produce. And I think that at a super deep meta level, the only way that I can justify my existence is if I'm actually helping someone find theirs. And for Soapbox, at a very the base pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is you need to be able to have access to hygiene and to be able to either participate in water, sanitation, hygiene, one of the aspects of WASH programs. And that's where, when we started, more than 5 years ago, the dream was always how do we create a for-profit endeavor that quickly expands this mission.
Well, I know in high school that one of your models that you looked at that you thought was, and I think really kind of pushed you towards Soapbox and kind of modeled you, was Tom's shoes.
Yeah. So Tom Shoes really started getting into the marketplace when I was in college. And so I graduated a year early from college, which sounds really cool.
And tell me where you went to college again, American University?
So I graduated a year early from American University in Washington, D.C., and it sounds really cool to graduate early. But I graduated in 2009, which like the whole world in recession and everything was collapsing. And I found a job working as a subcontractor for the United States Agency for International Development, which was somewhat, affiliated to why I studied what I studied in college. And while there, a light bulb went off in my head, and I just started looking at all these water sanitation and hygiene projects, and I wanted to do the way that we did aid differently. I wanted to focus more on an empowerment model and more of a sustainable approach to doing these type of projects. So I started just scratching my head, and I was like, all right, I'm going to start a non-for-profit. And having volunteered and worked for various non-for-profits before, I knew that there's certain limitations and that you need to have a good funding base, and you have to be really good at like planning galas or like licking stamps. And I was not good at either of those. I was awful. And I then started thinking back to, when I was a little kid in Naperville, my mom would encourage me to operate a candy stand at like local garage. And then she also encouraged me, I have amazing parents, by the way, to run a local newspaper for our subdivision within Naperville. And all of these things, harken back to, well, you can go and start an enterprise, a for-profit endeavor that then fuels this social mission. And instead of taking, a century to grow to a household name brand being a non-for-profit, we wanted to do that in a decade as a for-profit. So we often don't look at ourselves as for-profit, we look at ourselves as for-purpose.
Well, I think that's a nice way to put it, but I also wonder that there's a lot of companies now, well, maybe a lot's too big, but many companies following that sort of buy one, give one model, which is what Soapbox Soaps, I buy some soap product and then a humanitarian soap. And I say soap products, and when you started, you were just a bar of soap. Now you're so much more.
Me making soap in my kitchen. But anytime someone buys one of our bar soaps, body washes, liquid hand soaps, we donate a bar soap to either local homeless shelters or food pantries here in the United States, or in tandem with one of our 50 different NGO partners that we operate in over 50 different countries around the world. And they operate. We don't do that operation, but we see more of Soapbox as a conduit between, we make absolutely amazing products at affordable prices, and we support these amazing charities doing sustainable empowerment-driven work through something as simple as a bar of soap or clean water. And really where Soapbox is we're just the conduit between a consumer buying a great product and then supporting the work that this amazing charity is doing, either here or abroad.
And does that differ from other give one, take one models? Is that different from Tom's? Is that different from other things?
So Tom's got a lot of criticism early on because imagine you're a local shoemaker in one of the communities that they're serving. The last thing that you really want is a Tom's drop to come in and drop 20,000 pairs of shoes in your community. So early on when we looked at this, we said, well, there's a lot of soap around the world. Like 95% of the world's homes have access to soap. Why don't we actually source the soap that we're donating when we work abroad from those local communities? So let's say that you run a medical center in northern India, and you reach out to us because you see us on this program, or you see us in print advertising, or whatever it might be. You hear of Soapbox. You reach out to us and say, Soapbox, we run this amazing medical center. It takes care of, kids ranging this age to that age. We absolutely would love if you could donate soap. Most times how aid usually works is we say, great, we'll totally ship it from the United States. It's going to get on a freighter. It's going to take a couple months and it'll get there. We think that both from a carbon footprint as well as from teaching dependency, that's a bad model. So when we get inbounds from our international partners, we just say, great, go find a local soap maker. And instead, we like to change the way that aid's being done, because that medical center now buys from a local soap maker or at a minimum in a local Indian marketplace in that community, and you're then supporting that economy. More importantly, it's teaching source from either the local marketplace or local entrepreneurs instead of getting, free stuff from people that are not a part of that.
And then do you support the local soap maker?
We pay for it.
You pay for it, okay.
That is so our one-for-one model is one-for-one, but that actual one and how that happens is all based on the community. And then I would also say that Blake Mikowski of Tom's has done amazing things, right? So Warby Parker and Tom's and various other companies have really taken this and ran with that. And we see ourselves as becoming the one-for-one company for personal care. So you buy one of our shampoos and conditioners at Target, or you buy one of our products in Publix, or you buy one of our products in any of the retailers that were sold across the United States. We want people to immediately understand that mission that we're executing upon with that simple purchase. But I think a step above that is, and these other companies have done that as well, is no one's going to continue to support the mission unless you create an absolutely amazing product. And almost so that we have almost like a self-made hurdle that people assume that our product quality is probably going to be a little bit less because we're doing this mission. So therefore, we really have to blow people's expectations away with the performance and the efficacy and the fragrance of our products.
How did you choose the soap, the idea of soap? Because you got shoes. I mean, let's go back to how did you find soap? Because as you said, it's not like you knew a lot about soap. I remember you trying to make soap.
Nope, did not know. So thankfully, I'm a Boy Scout, born and raised.
Eagle Scout.
Yes, well, thank you. I'm an Eagle Scout here from Troop 81, Naperville's very own. We actually celebrated our 81st birthday recently. I think we might even be older. Look, I'm messing this up. But it was one of those things where the skills of thrift and integrity and scouting is this amazing thing where you almost you lure teenagers in by thinking that they're learning how to make fire or shoot guns or tie knots and all those cool things, but really what you're teaching them is leadership and integrity and service. And for me, what scouting and being a part of this Naperville Boy Scouts community taught me was, if you really want to go out and do something, then you have the ability to do it. You just have to be prepared. So
that be prepared motto.
Yeah, it sticks.
It sticks.
It gets on you, just like poison ivy. But anyways, the making soap was okay. I have this idea. What's the worst that can happen? I'll just Google how to make soap. Buy some materials, start mixing and matching in my kitchen, and that's really the birth of Soapbox. Back in 2010. Started making it in my kitchen in Washington, D.C. My friends thought I was starting a fight club, because that's what people assume when you say, I'm going to start making soap, living with a house of a bunch of other college-age guys. My landlord thought I was making meth, because that's what happens when you have a big, giant 20-gallon vat of lye. But yeah, we started with the humblest of origins, and the first 2 years it was an evenings and weekends project. It really didn't go that far or that fast. And then finally, after begging, pleading, calling, emailing, showing up unannounced, finally did the Whole Foods region of the Mid-Atlantic area of the United States say, please stop showing up. Please stop. We'll let you have one store and we'll see how it goes. So we got into that one store in March of 2012. We did so well that it went to 8 stores. 8 stores went to a whole region. And I wish I could say it was a fairy tale ever after, right? And then it went up and up and up and up. But we had, terrible sourcing problems. We had awful packaging. The price point was way too high. We had this beautiful mission, right? But we had no knowledge about how to grow a company in consumer products. None. No person a part of our team was even over the age of 24. We just had a bunch of chutzpah, and we thought that, hey, we're going to go out there and we're going to make a difference, and we're going to go against the likes of P&G and Unilever and Colgate, and like we thought that, yeah, like with our mission, we were going to, and we got smacked in the face by every challenge possible. And I think that a lot of like what Naperville did for me growing up was offer just a tremendous amount of experiences to fail. Like even being here, at NCTV, like I consistently failed.
Oh, I don't know if you were consistently growing, but I mean,
Yeah,
you had
growing.
no, but you cranked out different programs. You did different things for us. That was, but we weren't expecting you to win an award or do that because you were an intern. But we gave you opportunity.
But I think that's it, right? Is that
Yeah.
like, so one of the things that Naperville does really well is it provides ample amount of opportunity for elementary, middle school, high school, college age individuals to experiment and to get their hands dirty with trying different things. I mean, like, how many communities in the United States could I have had the opportunity to be given a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 camera, sometimes like $15,000 camera, and be like, okay, go to middle school, take some B-roll, come back, like that. Who does that?
Well, I think probably more people than you think. But when I think about that, I think yes, you had all these experiences, but you also were exposed to a lot of people, who were trying to, like we were trying, and we are still trying to make NCTV 17 a household name. We're still plugging away. So you saw that movement, and I think about your time on 203 board.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, but
Yeah.
you're the student ambassador.
Oh man.
Oh man, I think they're super proud of you now. I think they were
Well.
super proud of you then too, but you did drive them just well.
I drove them nuts.
You drove them nuts. You did.
And I think that's because I took that responsibility so seriously.
You were a serious kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my
I was-
God,
yeah,
super serious,
Yeah.
yes.
Thankfully that died down a little bit. I learned to laugh at myself and definitely others. I think the big thing I think, like, when I look back at growing up in Naperville, there were so many opportunities given to me and my friends who, if you wanted to go out and start an extracurricular activity, or your interest was in like stamps or debate or band or football or the most peculiar, like, investment club, like just crazy, like, different things that budding teenagers could have the opportunity to really get involved with and explore different interests and to be challenged. It's a fantastic community. And I think that's also like, so it's interesting because a lot of my friends who grew up with me in this community now have gone either to Chicago or New York or all over the United States. And it takes a couple years to realize how amazing, like just how lucky we were to be given access to all these just fantastic opportunities. And I think that one of the driving forces behind Soapbox is not necessarily going around and having a prescription of how people should live their lives, right? But everyone should have the ability to discover what it is that their life is all about. And at a very basic level, when I think of why Soapbox is so important, people should have the dignity to be able to take a shower. If they're a homeless individual or they're a client of a food pantry, they should be able to have the dignity of feeling clean. And what that can do in terms of their health and prevention of illnesses is huge. On the international front, it is, how do we establish a baseline so that children under the age of 5 don't die from something as simple as like acute respiratory disease or diarrhea or certain, like, just a plethora of illnesses that can be stopped with this simple act with a bar of soap and clean water. And that's where that is extremely motivating to our team of less than 10 people, where we go to work every day because we want to create absolutely amazing products at affordable prices that through each and every purchase make the world a better place.
Well, I smile at you because I think it's awesome, and you haven't changed that mantra from the time you were making soap in your kitchen. But I think you also are absolutely whitewashing a little bit the struggles that you had to get it to where you are now.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, a lot of entrepreneurs do that. They're just like, I had this idea, there was some struggle. It's amazingly successful.
Right, yeah.
Like,
where there was a lot of angst and a lot of learning about funding and all this startup. Because you're kind of in that. Though you're soap and you're not a tech startup, you're startup, but so you're different from your entrepreneur who's starting, a landscaping business. I mean, you're trying to, as you said, get this thing launched and moving in 10 years.
Yes.
And then you're going to be off to do something else.
Well, I don't. So it's interesting. I say that. I think if you're starting a company in the consumer product space, oftentimes early investors go, what's your exit plan? How do you sell this? And you always have to have an answer to that, because otherwise you're not going to get investment. But as we continue to scale and grow Soapbox, I'm not sure if that's the case. This might be something that I want to be doing for 20 and 30 years. The difference is making sure that I then can take out, the leverage or the loan in order to pay out those investors that made it all possible. And I think that, I don't know. It's one of those things where I get to do what I love every day. And I know that sounds so corny, right? Like it's like the cat poster where they're just like, hang in there, right? Like, or like the leadership posters where there's like an eagle over some like mystic lake and it's just like potential, right? Like I get that. I understand how cheesy that is, but I genuinely get to do what I love every day. Like, and I don't want that to go away. Like, I think there's beauty and there's beauty in the struggle, and I absolutely love the challenge of every day is an extremely humbling, like there's like 1 or 2 or 10 humbling moments of where, we're engaging with some gigantic big box retailer and they take us down a couple notches, and we have to then figure out, well, okay, we just dealt with this challenge and this, truck didn't hit its shipping window, or, we just got marked down on this, or, we now have to have a better advertising or marketing promotion because this didn't hit as well. And all those things are just, they're fun. They might not be fun in the moment that you get the call that like the truck is literally on fire with all of your soap in it, but like actually figuring out and having to work with the team and make a meaningful difference in the fact that every time we sell one of these products means that we're able to give. And I think what's really beautiful about what we're trying to build is not every company should be one for one. I genuinely believe that. Like,
right. No, I don't think you can have, but I think I think that it could be a new model to help some of our social programs, and makes it different from a not-for-profit.
Right.
There's this social entrepreneur, this one for one, and then there's profit. I mean, I think there's a little bit. I think there's a large window. I think a lot of people are attracted to that.
Right. Well, I think. So any way that you slice the data, millennials want to buy from companies that they feel have a purpose. And what's really fascinating is when big, billion or multi-billion-dollar companies try to then replicate this authenticity, oftentimes they fall flat because consumers are able to, the level, how discerning consumers are today is miles compared to what our parents.
Sure, it's called the internet.
Yeah, but even more than that, it's a certain level of, do I actually believe this brand, and do I trust what they say they're doing? And I think they're, in a sense, like 40, 50 years ago, you could advertise that you had a better product than your competitors, right? I mean, it could be as soon as like 20 years ago. And what we've seen in our research is that millennials especially make the assumption that everything that is on that shelf is quality. Like if it made it there, it's probably of quality. So you're not even fighting, ours moisturizes better or ours exfoliates better. Like you're not even fighting that battle anymore. What you're trying to fight is like, what does this brand say about you? And how can I reaffirm the beliefs that you want to have about yourself through this purchase? And that drastically changes the whole marketing game. And like, what is this brand, like how, like,
we all want it. Yeah, we're all on a mission. We all want to tell a story.
right, but I mean,
Right.
it's the same reason why a teenager wants to buy an Abercrombie and Fitch like hoodie, or at least when I was a teenager, because that says something about you, right?
Right.
Right. Like someone buys a Starbucks latte because it says something about them. Like they buy, an Apple iPod, or I don't know if they even buy those, but an iPhone, and wear the headphones because that says something about how they want to be portrayed. And I think that the reason why Tom's did so well is because there's a little flag on the back of that shoe that says, "I'm a good person." And what's fascinating is like soap, personal care in its very name is extremely personal. Like you don't see people like wearing their bar of soap around their neck, or at least we hope
No,
not.
let's hope not. It used to be a thing called soap on the rope.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of inappropriate jokes,
That's
and
right.
we can
We'll
go
just,
down there,
right,
which
right.
we'll just.
Yeah, we're rated G. We'll move on.
Right. But when we think of, well, okay, well, is this worth it? Will Soapbox ever even have a chance at being a multi-billion-dollar brand because people aren't able to display that they're being a good person? And our consumers have told us resounding yes. Is that we have tripled the business every year. We thankfully now are in the multi-millions. And that's even me saying that, like, chokes
huge.
me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And not because of the soap we use, like but we still have an incredibly long way to go. And minutes before we started taping, we were dealing with another challenge. So there's two things that we consistently say in Soapbox, and I actually think that the first value set is very much Naperville. I genuinely think that the first value set that we often say is almost an embodiment of growing up here in the Midwest, growing up here in this community. And that is that the type of people we like to work with and the type of people we hire are humble, hungry, and smart. And in that order. And it's fascinating because we love interviewing people for executive positions within our company from the Midwest, because they often really nail the first one. And what I've found is that first one, having that humility to work with our mission, to have the dignity to serve, and then also being very mindful of the dignity of those we serve. So, not taking pictures of the people we serve and compromising pictures, or, not showing them in a guilt, driven way, like, showing the joy of those we serve. But then also having the humility to work with people of a variety of different ages. We have as low as 22 years old, and we have as high as 65 years old within our company. And that's 10 people, 10, like in various different walks of life and stages of life. And then the hungry aspect is especially Naperville, like just looking back to, I remember CB's, and I remember Graham, the comic book store.
The graham crackers.
Graham crackers, yes. And the bowling lanes, and just like what Naperville was and what Naperville is today. And I think it takes a very driven and ambitious community to hold on to the charm and the soul of your city while making it better. And there's some things lost, but there's a lot gained. And I think that having that hunger to consistently want to improve the community for the better is something that's very Naperville, and something that definitely rubbed off on me. And then smart's pretty much self-explanatory. But anyways, I genuinely believe that the fiber in which we've built our company comes from my experience here, and I hope that there's some Midwestern values that stay with us as we grow.
You could have easily done soap in a smaller level. There's lots of soap people who do craft shows, and you were on the craft show.
Yeah, we totally started that way.
Yeah, right. And so, but there's something that always wanted you to go bigger, and that's and you had to learn along the way all the bigger stage, because there's not a training book out there of how to get up there.
How to take on Unilever.
You're right, exactly. Granted, and it had to be that mission that was pushing that larger stage.
Yeah.
Or the hunger, now that I think.
Yeah, it's, sounds like I'm just consistently like starving. I would say we always wanted Soapbox to become a household name. From day one of mixing the batch in my kitchen, we always saw this on the shelves of some of the biggest retailers in the United States. And for us, the reason why we always wanted to make that big is twofold. And that is, the more we sell, the more we give. It's just that beautiful correlation, and what we're able to do. And it's extremely humbling, because now Soapbox is even funding research projects on the efficacy of hand washing, which you think is like a foregone conclusion, right? Like you'd think that.
No, I wouldn't. There's
actually not a lot of public health research out there that says like this act stops like X amount of diseases. We have enough to know that, it does, and you should probably keep on using soap. But they're in what type of diseases, and looking at different control groups, and what type of interventions take place in various different parts of the world, and with cultural competency, and how do we best integrate that and change, and like all that still needs to be done. So the fact that we're doing that is extremely humbling compared to like the early days. But the first part is, the more we sell, the more we give. The second part is proving that one of the most commoditized products in the history of consumerism can be changed. I think it's so fascinating, because when we started Soapbox, a bunch of our mentors and advisors basically said, there is no way you're going to upsell a bar of soap. It's been one of the most, the whole idea of Soapbox originally comes from soap salesmen flipping over their box that they used to sell their wares in, and speaking very loudly about like their political beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever it might be like. And then the idea of a soap opera actually comes from dramas on the radio that were sponsored by soap companies, because they were trying to target the stay-at-home, wife that was, their target market. Like it's like,
it's been around for a long time.
Century plus, one of the most marketed items has been soap. So how then do you completely rewrite a story on one of the most advertised items ever? And I think that's a beautiful challenge, right? Like how can we take an extremely sterile, like pun intended, category as like personal wash or hair care or skin care? Like how do we take this that is very bland, and the marketing is the same year over year, and how do we go in there and tell a very different story, and then change the way that consumers view something as simple as a bar soap? And I think that's a beautiful challenge, and that's one that I want to wake up to every morning and run after.
Right. Well, when you started, it was just a bar of soap, but you have found that perhaps bars of soap are not used as much as everything else?
Depending on the market. Depending on the customer, depending on the age of the customer, and I can go really deep on like all different type of soap information. But bar soaps are actually being used at a very high volume. Like there are people that really love their bar soap and they want to continue to hold on to it. No rope, soap on a rope. Anyways, point is, when we look at expanding our product line, it is all about making sure that what we take on right now is fewer, bigger, better. We have an amazing opportunity. Currently, we're sold nationwide in Target. We're sold in Publix down south, all the Winn-Dixies in the south, any giant Stop and Shop Martins on the East Coast. We're launching into around 20,000 locations in the next couple months. So all throughout the Midwest, people are going to be able to find us in various different stores that they probably are already shopping at. Pharmacies that I can't name, other big box stores that I can't name, grocery stores that they probably shop that I can't name right now. But anyways, for us it is being careful about taking on too much. And we want to be laser focused on the opportunity that we fought so hard to win, and making sure that we really excel in the business that we've won.
You know, you were talking about being laser focused on your product and
Yes.
not to overextend yourself, because you oversee all your own production right now. I mean, you're making sure you have bottles for the liquid soap. You're
Yep.
getting your soap from someplace in the United States now. So you have to, it's not like you're just farming that out to some other company.
We source all the raws that then, or majority of the raw componentry that then goes to our contract manufacturer.
Right.
So we basically decide how it's made, what ingredients to put in, more importantly, what ingredients to keep out. I think one of the big things for us was we wanted to create a brand that had everything you needed and everything you shouldn't is left out. So looking at certain type of things like parabens or phthalates or EDTA, like there's no reason that should be in your personal wash, especially like your skin's your biggest organ, right? You should treat it with respect, and you should keep certain things out. And then one of the other things is, so we started in Whole Foods, and we have two different lines. So we have our Soapbox Elements line and we have our Soapbox line. And the way that we design the Soapbox Elements line is for the consumer that wants non-GMO, no artificial anything, no synthetics, only essential oils, every possible certificate, and making sure that this is
Pure.
everything that you'd find, right? So like we made that line, but what we found out is that the price point was too high to really become the next Dove. So then we looked at, okay, well, how can we lower the price point and yet still not cross that red line in including chemicals that we thought were just too much? So how we created the two different lines are Soapbox, because it uses artificial fragrances, allows us to combine different notes that you just can't do through essential oils. And it makes this blooming, beautiful array of fragrances that we're really, really proud of. So that's our Soapbox.
No, I just smile because I remember getting this bag from you of a variety of different soaps with a different bunch of smells, or as scents to them, and you were just like, so here's some soap. It's in a Ziploc bag.
Yep.
Here's some soap.
Yep.
Let me know what you think.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, thanks. You actually gave me really detailed feedback.
I did.
Of which it went into the process of making it.
Yes. So, but I appreciated it. But it was interesting.
Yeah. No, I have no background in chemistry. Just a lot of gumption.
Right. Well, and I think it shows your roots. I mean, that you were having friends and family testing them. You had mom and brother shipping out for a while.
Yep.
And packaging and the kitchen.
Yep. That was fun.
I remember it well. So.
Yeah, I think the future of our brand is that we want to be a household name. We want to be the alternative for what you were buying before for body wash. We want to be the shampoo and conditioner that she is purposely going to the store to buy. That is what we want to do. And we know it's going to take a couple of years to get there, but we've absolutely been blown away by the growth that we've had. And sincerely, the only way that we've got there is through our team. And I would say to any entrepreneur watching this right now, or any business leader, the number one asset you have is your people, by far. You hire A talent, you'll get A results. And they're, sometimes they're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. And when you're able to, bring in the type of people that have that experience and have that determination and hold themselves to that level of accountability, you get fantastic results. So as a young CEO, that's still in his 20s, thankfully late 20s, there is a lot of humility in consistently realizing and recognizing what I don't know and what I still have to learn. And I would say that Boy Scouts did a fantastic job of consistently instilling the idea that you're not going to know everything as long as you're earnest and you're honest and you put your best foot forward and you try to be as prepared as possible, usually good things happen.
Well, and I was going to ask about leadership style because it's evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what type of leader did you think I was? Because
Well,
you got to see me for almost a decade.
I did.
Yeah.
And I'm still watching you. So.
Oh man.
Oh man. You know, I think when I first met you in high school that you had great aspirations to be a leader, but you also had great aspirations to be liked by everybody.
Yeah. That goes away.
Yeah, well, it does, and it's a tough thing to learn because, right, that it was very important for you to be liked by everybody, but then you wanted to be the leader for everybody, and that often puts you in conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times.
You have to make the hard decisions.
Right,
and,
right.
And people, I think, oh man.
Like I say, I saw you grow over that, and I saw you really struggle with loyalty to your employees, and figure out how, because as a startup company, there is a camp experience to it. There's this group of people that, not unlike you and I and Carl and the Rolands and Ashma and Ben, there's this core group at NCTV back in 2002 when I started that really helped push everything forward.
Oh yeah, we drove Carl crazy.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Well, that was that was just a subset.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a bonus.
It was a bonus time, but that was an experience of growth at a time where NCTV was really beginning to change, and so that bond is. I mean, to this day, this bond is still tight because of that. So now you have this startup company called Soapbox Soap, and you got this group, and then struggling with the leadership of how you move with that group, and can you move with that group? So it's.
I think.
Trust me. I as an older leader, I struggle with leadership.
I would say, from my limited experience, and a lot that I've read on the subject, there are people who can adapt and grow, and that have the self-awareness to realize that they're no longer the right person for that, and either they can. So for us, 0 to $1 million was one step, and then $1 million to and then here, and we're right. We're in that where the type of people that helped us get from 0 to 1. There were a couple people who were able to mature and to grow very quickly, and unfortunately, there were some people that didn't want that company to change. And for being a consumer product good, you start to become sustainable once you're able to sell a lot, because you make such it's such a volume game. And there were some people that wanted us to stay the way we were, and I had to pull them aside and say, this is not sustainable. And they didn't want to grow with the company. It's not that simple, right? Like if they're just like, oh, thanks, cool, all right, I'm out, right?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of angst and emotion.
But I think if you want to be the leader, you have to make hard decisions. But it is how you make those decisions, and with the integrity that you make those decisions, that make all the difference. And I think what I've found is that when you are open, honest, and professional, and when you treat people with respect, and you approach things with that sense of humility, often making those hard calls becomes a lot easier, and people respect you a lot more for them. If you can be transparent with people and explain why you're doing something, most of the time, if they're good, if they're reasonable people and it's a rational logic pattern, people usually will go, okay. I mean, they're going to be really upset with you for a week or 2 or 3 or 4 or a month, and then they come around. But yeah, I would say that
it's tough.
It's perspective and it's judgment. And unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of having years of perspective. I don't. What I do hopefully have is sound judgment. Like that's what I hope for, in a sense that I'm presented with a situation of, do we run this promotion and potentially, have this inventory consequence, or, a shortfall on hitting our numbers, our financial numbers. And if you just want a gut reaction, say, that's my final decision, and not blinking, and I've made it quickly, and I made up my mind, I'm going to stand by it, right? And there's certain people who love that type of leader. I am definitely not in that camp. I like to call as many different advisors and mentors that I can, and I say, given this decision, what would you do? And if you listen, often I find that leads to the best decision. Now, you're not always given the luxury to have the time to do that.
Call everybody, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think so. I used to be a teacher through Teach for America.
Right.
It was an amazing program. I loved it. A lot of people, it's love and hate. Teach for America is where you're an exceptional college student. I don't know, like they accidentally let me in, but you get placed in a high need school. So
right.
whether it's like extremely rural or very urban, it could be even suburban. It's just there is a struggle within that school to find teachers, and that's usually where Teach for America steps in. That's not always the case. There's more people who debate about that, but I think that covers a broad stroke of what Teach for America is. And when I was a teacher, after the first year of a turnaround effort, our principal.
You were in Philadelphia, right?
I was in North Philly.
Yes.
And if anyone watching knows Temple University area, I was like 10 blocks the wrong direction, near Temple University. And my
fifth grade?
I was a 5th and 6th grade teacher.
Right.
I did my practicums on high schoolers. I really wanted to teach high school, and they were like, "We're going to put you with the kids." But it's kind of weird, 5th graders will like hug you in front of their friends, and like 6th graders will like cuss you out, and then once all their friends like leave the classroom, they'll like run back in and be like, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, well, they're right on the cusp.
Oh yeah. They're kind of like they're stabilizing their emotional maturity, and then they're absolutely losing it at the same time. So you look at a kid and you're like, your hormones are like on a whole other planet right now. But anyways, so my principal like pulls me, it gets up in front of the whole crowd, the whole teaching staff, and she goes, "This year was the hardest year of my life, and it challenged me as a leader in every way that I thought possible, and in so many ways that I never even expected. And if I offended you or I hurt you, I did not do it in malice. I did it because we had to make quick decisions in order to right the ship." And to her credit, the school went from 8% proficiency to the teens and then beyond, and just kept on growing. Like, to her credit, like, she had to make those tough calls. And I think if there's anything that 20, 30, 40 months from now, or numerous years from now, when Soapbox hopefully is a household name brand, we're not going to have always made the right calls. I know for certain that I've made tons of bad calls, but I made the best calls that I could at the time that I could with the information I was given, and I feel really proud of the team that we have and the team that I rely upon heavily.
Well, I kind of want to. You worked in Teen America really well, so
Trying.
As you think about Soapbox and where you're going with that, and you're a young man, and you said you hope to have this 20 and 30, but it also could be you're a builder, and what you enjoy is that going from nothing to something. Because I'm a builder too, and I find that I build well. Especially in the television.
You do a great job.
Well, thanks. In the television realm, I know how to build, but then you build, and then do you know how to go from, okay, I've built, I have the house now, and how do you maintain, and do you enjoy that, and do you want to do that? Because there's idea people, there's builders, there's process people who come in and help you learn how to sustain what you've built, and then you've got, I don't know the next stage. I mean, but there are different types of leaders, or different stages of a company's life.
I think if you would have said that same thing 5 years ago, I would have totally been like, I am only an idea guy, and that's all I can be. And I have matured and changed so much over the past 5 years of building Soapbox, and I give a lot of that credit to my co-founder. So my co-founder is a guy named Daniel Dahl. Him and I are work married, which is kind of weird because like he is married. Like I absolutely like, you know, his wife is amazing, and Jess and I are like extremely close. But it's weird because when you spend that much time, when you go to war with someone like day in and day out, and you're in the trenches, you really get to see the metal of a man.
Or a woman.
Or woman.
Sorry.
Or non-describing pronoun.
Exactly.
Yes. But anyways, you get to see the fiber of a person, and I think having gone through that, his expectations of what I need to be for the different stages of Soapbox have changed him, and have definitely changed me. And I think that we both have consistently raised the bar almost every month of what we expect.
Because Dan's your operations side, right?
Dan's the operations guy.
Right.
And even that's changing now.
Right.
Because we have reached a level where no longer can we learn as we go along because we're shipping to the big boys or girls or Z's. Anyways, so we're shipping to big box customers, and unfortunately, you know, he is humble enough with himself to realize that his expertise and bandwidth has reached the limit of where it can't necessarily catch up to where it needs to be in order for us to service these customers in their demands. So am I a builder? Of course. I love it. I absolutely love building things. I found, thankfully, through having a plethora of opportunities like here in Naperville and in college and beyond, and then also the amazing opportunities I've had at NCTV in just building programs and shows, and you know, keeping, you know, Carl and Jeff and, you know, all the people here at late hours because I wanted to create things or I wanted to build programs, and being called out on the things I was really bad at. I was wildly disorganized and I had terrible follow through, and you know, my say to do ratio was way off the map, where, you know, I would commit to everything and I would come up with these ideas and I want them done tomorrow and I would never follow up on them. And I think like the come back to earth, this needs to be done, you know, your company requires this, has changed me. And I love building things. I love being the idea person. I love being, you know, those two phases. And I might continue to evolve with the leader that Soapbox asks me to be.
Well, I think a natural follow-up thing, because being a startup, being a builder, it is heart and soul. You are Soapbox. You bleed soap as opposed to.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
It is very clean. So the thought is then, how do you fit life into that? That is, because for something like this, whether it be Soapbox
man.
or this, how do you fit life? I mean, I have a hard time with balance. I don't balance well at all. My balance to work ratio is usually very skewed.
You know, this might be, in my opinion, this might be one of the most interesting things that I don't think a lot of things that come out of my mouth are that interesting. This might be, but I've been doing just a ton of reading on biographies and autobiographies of very successful entrepreneurs, and the constant stream or the tie through most of them is this like
Workaholic?
Just nonstop.
Yep.
And it's difficult because, you know, I love my girlfriend and I can very easily see the next steps and where that's going to go. And having a family and being a great husband and being a great father are things that I really want to do. And I think that there's almost a archetype of what we want an entrepreneur to be. You know, how does she not sleep? You know, how does she wake up earlier than everyone else and stay later than everyone else? And I think there's a lot of imagery And I also think that there's almost, you have to perpetuate the stereotype that if you want to do this, you have to work harder than everyone else. And I do believe that's true. I just think it's in the manner of how you view work. The biggest things I've taken away is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, every day is a work day. Every day. It doesn't matter what the holiday is. It doesn't matter what time of day is. You have to be on call. Just like you're a parent, you got to be on call. You can't phone it in. You can't
take a sick day.
Yeah, school can't call you and be like, Timmy's got to come home, and you're like, not my day. Like, hey, he's yours, right? Like you can't necessarily, like, so I'm at a stage in my life where I'm struggling with, do I have to be this stereotypical, not with my family, work all the time, selfish in his own ambitions? Like, do I have to be that in order to achieve the things that I want to be, or can I write a new narrative? And I hope it's the latter, because I think there are people who say work-life balance who just like don't like work, right? I think that's fine. Like, there are certain people who like work is totally a 9-to-5 commitment for them because they love something else, and that's perfectly fine. Like, thank God there are those people, because if the world existed of a bunch of like type A's, like I need to work and everything needs to be meaningful, right? Like it'd be crazy.
Right.
Like,
Nothing else would get done, right?
Like a world of just super type A people who want to like just start their own thing. Like, we need that world of balance. And I think I've always been the type of person that wants work to be extremely meaningful. And then when I find that meaning, I want to do it all day, like all the time. I want to be building soapbox at every waking moment. But I'm very torn about what that's going to mean for, how great of a husband am I and how great of a father am I? Because I think that's some of the most, like, that is the most important job. So when I look at soapbox, when I look at the future, and I look at like work-life balance, I think that there are ways that I have seen other entrepreneurs do it well, and I want to emulate those type of entrepreneurs. I'm
very confident, as you have carved out a different niche for soapbox, in the sense of that you're not you're a one for one, but you've found local ways to be a one for one. It's not just a give. That you're going to find a way to maybe rewrite a little bit that workaholic /
hopefully
life balance. When you do, I really want you to give me a call and tell me how to do it, because I failed miserably. Dave, thanks for taking some time and talking to us.
The pleasure. Literally, this is a dream come true.
Oh, well, you're super kind, and we wish you continued success, and we're going to check back in with you in a little while and see how you do.
Oh, thank you. Well,
thank you.
Thanks so much for having me on.